As soon as Giselle got home, she heard the sound of water running from the bathroom. Her breathing quickened. Her heart started pounding. When she opened the door, her young boyfriend Yannick was standing right in front of her. The moment was sudden, like an invisible force pulling her toward him. Giselle couldn't hold herself back. They moved closer to each other, so close that it felt like time itself had stopped. The next day, 20-year-old Yannick went to a mall for shopping. Suddenly, his eyes locked onto a woman. She was 52 years old and busy buying things. But just a few minutes later, a security guard caught Yannick stealing. At that moment, Giselle stepped in to help him and paid for the items. Outside, she tried to explain to him that this path would only ruin his life. But Yannick seemed happy with her help. He admitted he had intentionally stolen inside the mall. Yannick told her that his house was nearby and invited her to come see it, but Giselle refused because she didn't want to go anywhere with a stranger. Still, Yannick couldn't stop himself. He handed her a box of sweets. As Giselle was about to leave, her purse fell to the ground, as if confirming her belief that some people never change. The scene shifted. She returned home and carefully checked her purse, only to realize that her identification cards were missing. She immediately suspected that Yannick had stolen them. The next morning, Giselle received news that her husband had died. They had been living separately. She went to his house, where the funeral was taking place. Her son, daughter, and sister were all there, standing by her side in grief. Meanwhile, one of her husband's friends stepped forward and spoke highly of him, praising his qualities with elaborate words. But none of it touched Giselle's heart. She felt empty inside, despite hearing everything. Outside, Yannick was waiting near her car. When Giselle came out, he returned her purse, which she had left behind. Seeing this, Giselle's anger erupted. She thought he had taken it on purpose. But in the very next moment, tears streamed down her face. She broke down and hugged Yannick tightly. Her pain wasn't from her husband's death, but from the betrayal. He had been in love with another woman and had only used her. To comfort her, Yannick held her close. They then sat inside the car and shared their pain with each other. Yannick reassured her that he was there for her and that she didn't need to worry. As he said this, he kissed her, and Giselle found herself drawn to that feeling. The next moment, Giselle stepped out of the car because she knew her daughter or sister could come at any time. Just then, her daughter arrived. Giselle felt nervous, thinking her daughter might have seen them inside the car. She glanced back, but nothing was visible from outside. Relieved, she smiled and walked away with her daughter. That night, when Giselle returned home, she felt deeply sad, like she had no support left in her life. The next morning, Yannick was standing outside her house. He had come to see her, but Giselle didn't come out. He tried calling, but her mood was off. She remained silent behind the door. After a while, her sister arrived with breakfast and went inside, calling out to her. Giselle didn't respond. Later, she suddenly appeared in front of her sister, holding a gun. Her sister was terrified. Giselle's suppressed anger finally burst out. She told her sister that her husband had been cheating on her, having an affair with another woman. Hearing this, her sister's eyes widened in shock. Fear took over her face because she herself was that woman. Without saying anything, her sister quietly left. After this, Giselle went to a beauty parlor. She knew Yannick would come there since she hadn't answered his calls earlier. After some time, Yannick did show up and try to impress her. He gestured toward her, and Giselle smiled. Later, they decided to meet each other in the evening. As soon as Giselle got home, Yannick called her, and they decided on a place to meet. They planned to meet at 5 p.m. that evening, and Giselle began getting ready. It was the first time Giselle was going to meet a stranger like this, so she dressed up in a beautiful outfit and set out to meet Yannick. However, she had somewhere else to go first. Meanwhile, Yannick was also stressed about what to wear. He quickly went to a clothing store to pick out an outfit for himself. While he was there, 2 or 3 of his friends showed up and started making fun of him. The truth was, they had never seen Yannick like this before, so calm and serious. It was clear that he was starting to change, and his friends found it strange. Still, they all helped him choose an outfit. Dressed and ready, Yannick set off on his bicycle to meet Giselle. He looked very excited. He arrived early at the place Giselle had chosen and sat by the roadside, waiting for her. Unbeknownst to him, his friends had secretly followed him and were watching him from a distance. Before meeting Yannick, Giselle went to see her sister's husband, George. He complimented her, saying she looked beautiful in her outfit, but there was a strange silence in Giselle's eyes. She smiled slightly, but didn't respond much. She got lost in conversation with him and didn't even realize how much time had passed or that she was supposed to meet Yannick. A few hours later, Giselle finally arrived to meet Yannick. As soon as she saw him, she smiled. Yannick's friends, who were secretly watching, were shocked to see that he was on a date with an older woman. Seizing the moment, Yannick confessed his feelings and expressed his love for her. But Giselle took his words lightly. Yannick wanted to be with her and take care of her, but Giselle found it a bit strange. She even wondered if he had gone crazy. She made fun of his clothes, and instantly, the smile disappeared from Yannick's face. In anger, Yannick took off the clothes he had just bought and threw them onto the street. Giselle kept laughing, which only made him angrier. When Giselle failed to understand his love, Yannick stormed off and went to his girlfriend's house. His heart was completely broken. Love had become everything to him. That night, Giselle kept thinking about Yannick. A strange heaviness settled in her heart. She felt that Yannick must be upset because of what she had said. The next morning, she went out looking for him. She reached the place where Yannick worked, but he hadn't come in that day. Giselle tried to get his address there, but she couldn't, and she had to return home disappointed. But she had no idea what was about to happen next. As soon as she reached home, she felt like someone was inside. Nervously, she stepped forward and heard the sound of water running from the bathroom. When she opened the door, Yannick was standing there, soaked in water, his eyes fixed directly on her. The moment was sudden, unplanned, yet it felt like an invisible force was pulling her toward him. She couldn't stop herself. They moved closer to each other, so close that it felt like time had stopped, and the intensity of that moment echoed through the walls. At that very moment, her son and daughter arrived outside the door. They had come to surprise their mother, unaware of what was happening inside. They had something important to talk about, but as soon as they heard noises, they rushed in and started looking for her. Giselle quickly came out, trying to compose herself. Standing in the living room, she pretended everything was normal. Meanwhile, Yannick slipped away without looking back and left the house. After Yannick left, her daughter went into the bathroom to take a shower and found one of Yannick's clothes. Meanwhile, Giselle kept thinking about him. Unable to hold back, she called Yannick and asked him to meet her near the lake. A few hours later, once Giselle was free, she headed toward the lake to meet him. At that time, her son and daughter had gone out for some work. Meanwhile, Yannick was lying outside her house asleep. As soon as Giselle saw him, she got angry and snapped at him. She clearly told him that they couldn't keep meeting openly like this. She was afraid that her children might find out about her actions, so she didn't think it was right for him to stay outside. Eventually, she let him come inside. Inside the house, they spent a long time together, close to each other, completely absorbed in one another. But this time, Giselle tried to control herself and set a condition that they would not meet more than once a week. However, things had already changed. This was no longer a simple relationship. Slowly, they both began to forget their boundaries. Sometimes they met by the lake, sometimes at home. Giselle appeared very happy, as if she had forgotten her past life. Gradually, their meetings became more frequent, and their behavior started attracting attention. One day, after meeting at a coffee shop, Giselle realized she had gone down the wrong path. They were sitting there when Yannick suddenly got up and moved away, signaling for her to come closer. Giselle understood what he wanted. The two of them started kissing, forgetting that others were watching. After a while, Giselle noticed the people around them staring. Embarrassed, she quickly ran away. Yannick followed her all the way to her house. Giselle tried to explain that they were crossing their limits, but Yannick reassured her that he wouldn't let anything happen to her. While they were talking, that same night, Giselle saw George approaching her house. Panicked, she quickly hid Yannick inside. George came up to her and asked how she was doing. In truth, George also had feelings for Giselle, but had never been able to express them. Seeing the opportunity, he began talking to her in a romantic way, like a boyfriend would. Giselle smiled. It seemed like she was being drawn toward him too. Then George walked into the house. Giselle became anxious, afraid her secret might be exposed, but she couldn't stop him. George took advantage of the moment and continued speaking sweetly to her. Giselle went along with it, and as they talked, they started getting closer. Suddenly, Yannick appeared in front of them. In that instant, everything changed. George understood it all. He realized that Giselle had gotten involved with her own client. His heart broke, and without saying a word, he walked away. Giselle's anger now turned toward Yannick because he hadn't listened to her. Yannick, hurt and upset, walked out of the room. His heart was shattered. The woman he loved had hurt him deeply. Just then, it started raining. Meanwhile, Giselle realized her mistake. She went to George to apologize, but he had no words left. In anger, he began throwing his belongings around. Giselle tried to calm him down, but seeing his rage, she ran away. The next morning, Giselle admitted her mistake and met George again. George told her that the boy was just using her and would leave her alone one day. Giselle was confused and didn't know whose side to take anymore. Still upset, Yannick went back to the same store. He picked up an item and tried to leave without paying, but he was stopped. He was caught stealing again. This time, there was no forgiveness. He was sent straight to jail. A few hours later, Giselle found out and went to the jail to get him released. Angry, she scolded him and told him she couldn't keep saving him from jail again and again. Although Yannick was still upset with her, he also realized his mistake. Later, inside the car, he apologized, but Giselle didn't just want an apology. She leaned toward him. By evening, Giselle arrived at a party Yannick had invited her to. Wearing a red dress, she looked beautiful, drawing everyone's attention. As she walked toward Yannick, his girlfriend appeared and revealed that she knew everything about them. She began mocking Giselle, her age, her profession, everything. Humiliated, Giselle quietly got up to leave. Yannick tried to stop her and even attempted to kiss her, but she walked away without saying a word. Yannick realized their relationship was on the verge of breaking. Wanting to save it, he went after her to apologize. But by then, Giselle had already stepped outside. He caught up to her and placed a hand on her shoulder to stop her, but she was still angry. She pulled away, got into her car, and drove off toward her home. After a while, Yannick followed her on his bicycle, but Giselle ignored him. As soon as she reached home, her daughter was standing right in front of her. Giselle stayed silent and immediately realized that her daughter had begun to suspect her, especially because the piece of clothing found earlier in the bathroom belonged to Yannick. Giselle grew anxious. The next day, Giselle went to meet her sister. The pain she had been holding inside slowly started to come out. She said, "In love, betrayal often comes from your own people." But her sister remained silent. Giselle also openly spoke about George, saying that he wanted to accept her and be with her. Hearing this, it felt like a fire lit up inside her sister. She understood that Giselle had feelings for him. Just then, Giselle's children came inside. Her sister quickly changed her expression and pretended to be cheerful. But Giselle's daughter looked straight into her aunt's eyes and asked, "Are you hiding something? Can you tell us the truth?" Silence filled the room. The aunt lied, saying their mother was just upset about their father. The daughter understood that her aunt was lying too. At that moment, a noise came from the bathroom, and the next second, Yannick stepped out. Shock spread across everyone's faces. Giselle immediately tried to handle the situation. She said, "He's my client. He's not mentally stable. I have to keep him with me, otherwise he might lose control." But her daughter had already understood everything. Meanwhile, Yannick wanted to reveal the truth. Giselle's son also demanded to know who he was and why he was there. Yannick openly called Giselle his girlfriend, and the moment those words were spoken, Giselle's anger exploded. She stormed out of the house, and Yannick followed her. Inside, everyone was left in shock, realizing that Giselle was having an affair. Outside, Giselle shouted at him, "Who told you to come here? You're ruining my reputation in front of my family. Stay away from my life." Nearby, George was watching all of this unfold, and a strange sense of satisfaction appeared on his face. Giselle then asked Yannick to leave for now and told him they would meet later. After that, she went back to her sister. A little later, the two sisters went together to the lake to immerse their husband's ashes. But at the water's edge, her sister suddenly broke down. Crying, she said, "Forgive me. I had a relationship with your husband. Whenever you were at the office, I would come to your house, and this kept going on." Hearing this, the ground seemed to slip beneath Giselle's feet. Her voice trembled as she said, "You were my own sister. How could you do this?" The truth was even more painful. It had started right after her marriage. As they argued, George stood nearby, watching the conflict unfold. Giselle's children couldn't understand what was happening between their mother and aunt. The argument escalated, and during the chaos, the ashes flew into the air and fell directly onto her sister. The situation became so intense that her sister had to step into the water. Leaving her behind, Giselle took a boat and moved toward the shore. Meanwhile, Yannick was standing near Giselle's car when George noticed him. Giselle's anger was at its peak. She walked toward George's car, while Yannick stood firmly by her side. Suddenly, a fight broke out between George and Yannick. Hearing the noise, Giselle rushed over and somehow managed to stop them, asking George to step back. George stepped away. After that, Yannick and Giselle held on to each other without thinking. Their relationship was no longer hidden from anyone. Giselle's children stood at a distance, watching everything, and for the first time, a sense of relief appeared on their faces because their mother was finally living life on her own terms. Meanwhile, Giselle's sister came out of the water, and everyone understood that Giselle had moved on in her life. Finally, Giselle and Yannick left that place together, on a long journey where only the past remained behind and their togetherness lay ahead. And in this way, their story slowly came to an end with a strange but real sense of peace.